Hey, you lukewarm egoists. Subscribe to Suki. Or don't. Be a joke of a striker all your life if you want. Or be a strong egoist by subscribing right now. Your choice.
So now that the BM versus PXG game is over, we need to talk about who really is to blame for their loss. And similar to who was the reason for Cell getting his final form, so yeah, we will rank them from who sold the least to who sold the most. Alright, let's get into it. Oh yeah, we will not be adding the free bum defenders and the goalkeeper as they were never expected to do anything. Remember when we all thought Chappa was New Gen 11? Good times, bro. Our contestants are Rin, Shido, Karasu, Tokimitsu, Zantetsu, Nanase, and Charles Chevalier. Last place, Ryusei Shido. Remember, this is not who was the best performer, this is about who sold the most. And Shido actually sold the least. This is one of the only games where we didn't see him take unnecessary shots thanks to Kunigami. Kunigami locking up Shido is a testament to Shido's massive offensive awareness and threat to the goalkeeper and the defense. And not being able to beat Kunigami is not something that would sell the game, as no one on that team except Tokimitsu would have stood a chance against Kunigami. But with Raichi already on him, that was never going to be a situation. When Kunigami wasn't on him, he made the right plays, going for goal in chapter 275, pressing Noah in chapter 278. In chapter 287, when Shido got pressed by 3 players, he didn't force a shot like he usually does, but instead passed it to Rin, so they could have a better shot at scoring. But the best moment in the second half is in chapter 290, which is when he gets the ball and notices Kunigami is there, who presses him, but instead of forcing a shot like in the U20 game, he passes it to Rin, and then shakes off Kunigami and gets open with Kiora barely struggling to keep up on him. He was in a perfect position to score, but Rin ignores him. And thanks to that, we get the iconic Kaiser meme later on, with Kaiser throwing his backstory problems on another man. And yeah, he did well on stopping Kaiser from scoring as well, giving us the iconic meme later on. Nef! Overall, throughout the game, although he got clamped by Kunigami, Shido didn't really sell like he usually would by making dumb plays. Bravo, Shido! He also avoided Igaguri's militia foul in a way that he ended Igaguri's hopes and dreams of ever representing Japan. Shido, I personally thank you for that. 6th place, Tabito Karasu. Once again, remember, this is not about who sold the most, this is mainly about who was the best performer, but who was the cause of this loss, from the least to the main cause. Once again, I have to remind you, because some people will be in the comment section typing away for no reason. Karasu, similar to Shido, didn't really sell much and made really smart decisions in the second half of the game. He picked up Rin's slack in chapter 252. I'm not saying he contributed to the goal and was a main contribution. What I'm saying is that he picked up Rin's slack for messing up the shot because of him being obsessed with Isagi. The first cell comes in chapter 256 when he, Zantetsu, and Nanase all couldn't press Hiyori. Like, how did none of you even try to run or tackle the ball away from him? And his second mistake comes in chapter 263. Like, this is when you know the author was really running the Kaisagi Rin show. Like, in the first selection, Karasu was able to make that same play and steal the ball against Isagi, but couldn't do it here. And even if he was far away, he could have done his crow tackle he has done on Otoya and Ness. Like, come on, this was an easy steal, but he couldn't do it. So yeah, this is a sell on my part. However, it wasn't a big deal because Rin got the ball like a few panels later. If not, Karasu would have been in 5th. That's about it for Karasu. He only had one big sell and a minor sell worth mentioning here, so now he's in 5th place. Sugiri Zantetsu. He didn't really have much screen time, so he didn't have much chances to sell, and when he was on screen, he did a pretty good job. The only major sells he had was first in chapter 256 when, again, he, Karasu, and Nanase all couldn't stop Hiyori from breaking through like them. Like, Zantetsu, you were the furthest back. You should have at least put a leg up to try and prevent Bastard Munchen's first goal. And in chapter 259, Kuona got the ball with Zantetsu on him, and Zantetsu couldn't even keep up with him. As for the rest of the chapter, we don't even see Zantetsu. And this was bad because if Kaiser scored here, that would have been 2 goals on Zantetsu's name that would have been scored on because he couldn't get the ball. Yeah, Zantetsu, that was not a good look on you for both of those parts. He did a pretty good job in this game whatsoever. I put him here because he had as much cells as Karasu, but they were like more like, if they had scored off this play, it would have been on Zantetsu's name more than Karasu. Karasu was lucky because of Rin stopping the play, but Zantetsu actually had a goal similar to Karasu that was scored because of their mistake, and the second mistake for Zantetsu also could have really led up to a goal had Kaiser not fumbled the Magnus, unlike Karasu who had Rin backing him up. So yeah, that's the only difference that I had between them two. 4th place, Nijiro Nanase. He did well throughout the game, but as the game kept on going, especially throughout the Munchen 14 chapter dominance, it started to show that he was going to make mistakes. His first cell was the same as Zantetsu's, which was in chapter 256 when they all couldn't stop Hiyori, which led to Munchen getting their first goal. The second cell came in chapter 264 when Nanase stripped Corona, but the problem is his ball control is still not great, which sends the ball in the air, allowing for Kaiser to strip him in the following chapter. Had he polished his ball control like Loki and Rin said, he wouldn't have had to send the ball in the air, which would have led him to get a massive play in for a PXG. He got another dispossession again in chapter 268 where, because of his unpolished ball control and reliance of being a ring glazer, got another dispossession. Had he been calm and passed back to the midfield or defense, they could have kept the possession going and figured out a new reset for a different play. A potentially big sell was when he let Isagi blitz him in chapter 289. If Ness wasn't such a Kaiser glazer, PXG would have lost then and there thanks to Nanase. This was all the cells Nanase had. Obviously he is a good player, but he has a long way to go amongst the players on this list. He had the most mistakes so far on this list, and everyone had a bad game, yeah. But he will not be living to tell his story soon because I'm predicting he won't make the top 23. This will be his final game playing in a situation where he could have represented Japan. This is it. He's not representing Japan, I guarantee. 3rd place, man oh man, do I want to chalk trash about you. Itoshi Tokimitsu. Yeah, bro, you need to start packing your bags. Take your sweet time touring the whole Bluelock facility, because you got to go. Your performance ever since your debut chapter has been terrible. You won only one duel amongst all your duos in this match, and it was against Corona, the 3rd physically weakest and 3rd smallest player on this team. I don't know how Igaguri's height, but he's definitely not the smallest, as that's Kiora. But still, you couldn't even dispossess Corona. Nanase dispossessed Corona. He didn't even have as much screen time as Nanase or Karasu, but he still managed to play worse with the screen time he had. Imagine if he had like Karasu's screen time. Hell, imagine if you gave him Shido screen time. He would have sold like a fish. You would have seen him be getting killed by everyone. I won't fault him for not chasing down Kaiser in chapter 265 as Kiora had the ball, not Kaiser. But for the longest game in the NEL, in terms of our viewing, you being the stamina freak and not being able to contribute jack lead in the game except fouling Noah. And how do you foul Noah and get a yellow card? We had Rin get 2 fouls because of the militia, and Rin didn't even get a yellow card. Hell, the person who's known for getting cards, Ryusei Shido, didn't even get a card. But somehow you managed to get a card. No. People want to justify that because he had to make the play. Yes, sure, it was good that you had to foul. Karasu literally said, take them down, do what you must as long as we survive. But why the hell would you get a yellow card because of that? Your value is going down. This is the final game. Do you not give a damn that your Japanese career is going to end here? But yeah, you sold like a twig, bro. Bro, you were just playing Drewski on the All-Star Celebrity game. You were straight up winning cardio, bro. And the worst part was, I did have faith Because in my PXG predictions, I predicted that you were gonna give Yukimiya problems, but you got blitzed by Yukimiya. And I know it's hard to react to people like Isagi and Kaiser because they are like one passing it and then blitzing off. Like the ball's not gonna be with them, unlike Bachira, who you did well against because Bachira is a solo dribbler, so it's easy to man mark him. Yukimiya is the 1v1 Emperor dribbling. You weren't even close to man marking him. He blitzed you and made you go eat dog crap. Get the hell off of my screen. Never again. Now the top two is between Rin and Charles. Now for Rin, his obsession with Isagi started from chapter 251 when he held back in a play just so he could show some disrespect to Isagi, which ended up costing him the opening goal. That's his first cell. Now from chapter 253 to 263, we can't really blame anything on him as the cells fall upon Charles, who didn't give Rin any passes, limiting Rin's role in the match. As the heart of the team, he's supposed to distribute plays that encourage the strikers, the aces, to be able to do their job perfectly. Charles' first cell was not deciding to pass it to Shido in chapter 254 or 55, as Isagi was still on Rin, so Charles passing it to Rin really wouldn't do anything different than if he passed it to Shido. They both would have still got it dispossessed. However, in chapter 256, this is where Charles started selling, as even though this time Rin was open, he still passed it to Shido. Even though he had Kaiser, Ness, Hiyori already to stop the pass, with Kunigami still on Shido man marking him, with Rin still open, yeah, he still just passes it to Shido. This crap would never happen with Ryu's side. Now it's 1-1 between them in terms of cells. Chapter 259, okay, what the heck, Charles? Who cries for the coach to sub them out of the game? Have you no pride? The tantrum cost PXG another dispossession and made me lose brain cells. Bo even had Kunigami and Shido shocked. And Kunigami ain't even on his team. Bo's not even supposed to be showing emotions, but yet Charles got it out of him. Congratulations, Charles. Chapter 263, okay, Rin, you dribbled through the whole Munchen team just 12 chapters ago. How do you get dispossessed by Raichi, bro? Raichi among all people? What the duck is wrong with you, bro? Chapter 273, Rin doesn't shoot well. This itself is not really a cell as Rin still scored in chapter 275, so he still scored and made up for not shooting earlier. The real problem is that Isagi won because of this goal. Let me explain. By scoring this goal with his best performance possible, it allowed for Isagi to adapt to Rin's best performance possible. Take for example Gogeta vs Broly, as where he went blue instead of Super Saiyan God, as he needed as big of a power gap possible to confirm Broly's death once and for all, but he didn't kill Broly, which is still okay, so that Broly wouldn't be able to adapt to him. He could have messed around and went to Super Saiyan 2 or Super Saiyan 3, but he didn't because he needed to get the job done on Broly then and there, and Broly would have adapted to that in terms of pure power. Both Gogeta and Sukuna used enough to take down their monsters, being Broly and Maharaga, but they just adapted fast enough because they are who they are. And yeah, in Gogeta's case, he didn't even go all out because he still could have used Kaioken times 20, but blue was already enough. The difference between Isagi and those monsters, Maharaga and Broly, is that Isagi needs time to adapt before chapter 291, where he figures out one of his final pieces being the fastest to adapt to a situation, where now he can instantly adapt to a situation thanks to his Omnivision. Had Rin not scored with a crash out shot, he could have surprised Isagi for that game winner with a crash out shot, since Isagi would not have seen it yet, which means he would have not been able to detect it yet, and he wouldn't have the fastest adaptability piece in his arsenal just yet. But no, he instead decided to use the crash shot, and Isagi instantly adapted to that, which made Rin sell over and over and over. Charles didn't really sell after chapter 272, and I can't even call that a sell as Rin and Shido were both locked down, so there was no clear better option, and Kaiser just spawned in the next panel, and PXG still got the rebound, so it ended well after all. Chapter 280, while the first time Igarashi baits out Rin for the foul isn't a sell as anyone would have gotten baited out by Igarashi, I believe this chapter is when Rin sold to Igarashi because he intentionally runs at Igarashi due to him not being in his right mind. Chapter 283, I'm not really going to fault Rin for this crash shot attempt as he just scored off of one earlier, but in chapter 286 where he could have dribbled past Isagi and crashed into Kaiser and still scored, or better yet not crash into anyone and just dribble past both of them and score, he was obsessed with destroying Isagi, so he did it. And again in chapter 287 and 290. Those are all the cells, but which person was the true cause of PXG? The ace, Itoshi, or the beating card of PXG, Charles Chevalier? While Charles did make mistakes that led to PXG having no offensive threat for 14 straight chapters, after his evolution, he really didn't sell afterwards. Meanwhile, after Rin's evolution, he started to develop negative plays after the evolution, and even had some negative plays before his evolution, being chapter 251 and 263, which was before it. With the evidence I have laid out, I believe the biggest to blame for PXG losing has to go to Rin. He had 6 crucial shows, the most for his team, and he is the mascot of the team, as we see in chapter 241 with all the 4 mascots. So eyes are going to be looking at him, especially being a championship game, playing like a child on the pitch and just creating negative play after negative play, spamming the shot button over and over and not doing anything to really stop the crashing mentality. Auctioners are going to look at that and say you were the cause of the game. From an auctioneer's point of view and from a statistics point of view, Itoshi, you are the reason this team lost. This will hopefully be released before chapter 294, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until the next one, Suki out, stay blessed.